Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Pop Cult X, your go-to for all things pop culture from a Gen X, this time millennial point of view. My name is Daniel, and Gabe will hopefully be along shortly. But today, you might have noticed something a little different. We are live on YouTube. Wow, that's crazy. We're live. Hold on one second. I'm hearing that in my echo in my head. Okay, let me try that again. Let me go back to where I was because I didn't click off one of the volume buttons that was for the YouTube. So I started hearing myself. It was just technology. Gotta love it. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us. Today, we are live on YouTube, as you can see, unedited, unfiltered, and unbothered, because you know what? It's fun. And today, we are happy to welcome to the show the paranormal Polynesian, Adam Taula. Now, if you've been following us long enough, you know that Adam was one of our very first guests about a year and a half ago. So, Adam, thanks for coming back.
Thanks for having me. How are you? Have I been here the whole time on the screen?
You have been. You've been here, and
I thought I
which
was
is fine.
I thought I was in the green room. Cool, nice to see you. Hopefully my faces weren't too awkward. How's it going?
It's going good. You're probably like, what is this guy doing?
What's happening? No, that's most of my life. I walk around going, what's happening? I have no idea. Thanks for having me. Hello, everybody.
Yes, it is very cool to have you back. I think it was like last May, if you can believe it or not, that we had you on.
Yeah, it's a long time ago. Who knew?
It is. It's very cool. I mean, I think that was episode 10. Now we're in episode 77.
That's crazy.
And we're doing a lot of scary movie stuff this episode and this past couple ones. So we've been talking about scary movies. Last week we focused really on like werewolves and how like that was like a big fear of mine growing up, because I just was terrified of them until one night I had a dream and I just killed off the werewolf and I was fine.
Well, good. That's the best way to do it. That's the best way to get through it. Kill it off in your dream. Good therapy.
Good therapy, exactly. Yeah. But I've been watching a lot of scary movies, mainly because they don't frighten me. But I've been watching them for the filmmaking style. And there are a lot of creative filmmakers out there, especially when it comes to scary movies and horror movies. And let me ask you, do you have a favorite genre of scary movie?
You know, I don't love slasher films. It's never been my thing. I mean, I enjoy them at Halloween, but I like something that's more psychological, that kind of stays with you for a while. That's why I love The Shining so much. You know, that's probably my favorite. But I just made my sister-in-law watch. Hi, I think someone's here. I did make my sister-in-law watch Hereditary yesterday, and nice. I do love that movie. Have you seen it?
No, I mean to see it.
You must watch it. It's by Ari Aster.
Yes,
and it was his directorial debut, and he just like, I think it was fantastic. It's one that'll stay with you for a long time when you watch it. It's so just crazy. And it was filmed just down from where I live, so I have a little special place in my heart for it. But it's messed up. It'll mess you up.
Well, Ari Aster, I know from Midsommar.
Yes.
And that's a great movie with Florence Pugh. And that's another that will just mess you up, just the way it is.
I can't believe those are his first and second films. He's just so good at, or maybe pretty close, one of his first. But he's very good at telling a story. And his the angles he uses, the scenes, they're all like kind of deliberate, kind of like Stanley Kubrick, how he did his. That's why I kind of love that sort of stuff.
And to interrupt, the casting for his films are nearly perfect.
Yeah.
Hi, sorry I'm joining in mid podcast, but
no, that's fine.
Was having to deal with San Diego traffic, so
oh my gosh, I was in San Diego just a few weeks ago. I should have.
Oh, were you really?
I was running around. I should have said hi, but yes, that traffic in San Diego. What a nightmare, right?
Yeah. So I apologize for the interruption, but I'm glad to have you here. I don't know if we already wished you a belated birthday.
Oh, thank you.
Belated birthday.
Thank you very much. I know 40. I don't know how I feel.
Welcome to the
a
crew.
certain type of way.
Yeah.
And we see the decorations. You're getting ready for a party there.
Yes, I'm here in the Golden Girls karaoke lounge. We've got Stranger Things, the prom over here to my left. Turn that into a prom in my garage, and it looks pretty damn good. And it's a big 80s party coming up this weekend. I love a good theme. Theme.
And I think everything right now is like 80s, 90s throwback.
Oh, yeah.
I think everyone is appreciating the times gone by. They just had such great music, great fashion, great everything.
Yeah, it's been really hard getting all the music in a playlist that I need for like 4 hours because I can't decide. There's just so many.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm actually surprised you're not a Virgo, because that's a very Virgo trait to have the exact perfect music playing for every moment.
Well, I'm pretty close to a Virgo, right? I mean, pretty yeah. I mean, I'm like sort of on the cusp-ish.
Yeah.
So I can see that. I'm very particular about my music and my lighting. Mm-hmm. I'm super weird. My husband wants to just leave some days. So yes, that's definitely me. Oh, you should have seen our wedding. Oh, that was a fun time for him. But no, that's me for sure.
Nothing wrong with knowing what you want, I guess.
Nothing wrong with that. Be a little,
especially when it comes to lighting. I as Gabe would say, we're both photographers, so we like, to control lighting. So
yeah, I mean, I'm not lit today for anything because I'm in my kitchen, but behind me looks good.
Yeah.
So
it's a mood. It's a vibe.
It's a mood.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like I said, I'm kind of jumping into things here, but we caught the tail end of your conversation about your favorite horror movies. One that just came out that I haven't really talked to Danny or you about is Halloween Ends. Did you get a chance to check that out?
I haven't seen it yet, but I'm waiting for my husband to get home from a business trip, and that's his favorite stuff. So I will watch it.
Yeah.
Did you like it?
It's interesting. So if you haven't heard, it's the culmination of the story for Jamie Lee Curtis's character and her end of her story arc. I don't even want to give away. I mean, the title's called Halloween, so you can kind of
over
what it's about. But the thing that's interesting that I think Jamie Lee Curtis has sort of added to as an adult, or as a seasoned actress, is her character, going from a victim and having to go be thrust back into regular life and not getting therapy, and then getting therapy. And you now see this character that has gone through therapy, knows that she has post-traumatic stress disorder, has sort of accepted, having been, quote, victim before, and how she's taking control of her life and how she just wants to live, not in the shadow of Michael Myers, but, just as anyone should be, just free, have a free life. So it's very interesting in that aspect. I don't know if they're successful in all areas of the movie, but it definitely is interesting, if not solely to watch Jamie Lee Curtis, because she's a national treasure. I love her. She's just the best.
She is a national treasure. I love that Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah.
I saw her at the premiere of Freaky Friday.
Oh, wow.
At the El Capitan in Hollywood.
Nice.
Lindsay Lohan. I didn't know who Lindsay was at the time. I just saw this little girl in this little dress, but I knew Jamie Lee immediately, and I was just like, oh my gosh. I love her so much. And I am like a Beverly Hills Housewives kind of watcher. I know I said I would never, ever watch Real Housewives because it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
But these past few years have been some weird times, you guys. And so I started running out of stuff to watch.
Yeah.
But Jamie Lee Curtis is on Real Housewives. Every now and then she'll pop in because she's friends with Kyle Richards, who's a hot mess.
And Kyle Richards is actually in Halloween Ends.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, she was in Halloween Kills too.
Child. Yeah. She was in the original or the sequel or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She was in the original movie. She was the little girl she was babysitting. So, but I did watch Halloween Kills just the other day when I was on a plane. So I'm ready to watch the Halloween Ends. So we'll see. I'll have an update.
So I'm actually excited to hear that you are a fan of The Real Housewives, because Danny doesn't watch those reality shows. I actually have only been watching The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. So I've seen one reunion show, and one of the things that has been a big controversy is this introduction to this new character. What is her name? Diana from the world. I don't know where she originates.
She licks her lips all the time.
Yes,
like, I can't even see
her. So to explain to Danny, there's this woman who's wealthy for marrying well. She left her husband, and now she has
a gay husband.
Yeah, a gay 20-something-ish husband, gay.
But he's straight. I don't know.
Yeah. He dresses, he's very fashionable, he's very attractive young man. She's probably in her late 40s, early 50s, I would assume.
She's in her 50s, I believe.
Yeah. Super, super plastic surgery out, but she has these huge lips that she licks constantly like a lizard. Like
oh, maybe she's one of those reptilian people, that are in the Illuminati. Is that a thing still? I'm not sure. This is pop culture, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
But no, I was so excited to see that someone new came when she came on the show. Like, I thought, oh, she's going to be such a good villain, but she's given me nothing, and I'm kind of done with her. Yeah, she's friends with Elton John, and I think that's about all she has going on, and all the money, of course. But I don't know. I don't think she'll be back next season.
Yeah,
who knows? She's just kind of boring for me.
Yeah, I think she was not what they expected, and I don't think we'll see her next season. But of that cast, who's your favorite if you had to pick?
This is so weird because I absolutely could not stand her when she came on the show, but I love Sutton right now.
Yes.
Like Sutton has just been getting the short end of the stick the past 2 years. And as someone who's, well, you know what? Nope, I'm not going to go there. But anyhow, I love a Southern belle, and I just feel like I am one, being raised with the Golden Girls. I feel like I'm Blanche, and I just love, she's just very blunt, but so am I sometimes.
Yeah.
But she's just herself all the time, whether you like it or not. She doesn't put on a show for what she thinks the cameras need. And then I do love Garcelle. Mm-hmm. She's just kind of keeping people in check, but she's feeling a little like Diane Sawyer-ish, where she's just doing interviews all the time with people when she's sitting with them. Yeah. So I don't know. It's hard to say. How about you?
I agree with you. I do love Sutton. She's my new favorite. There are some people that I've kind of flipped on. Like I did in the past, like Kyle Richards. This season was not very flattering for her. Nope. Sutton is, or not Sutton. Oh my, now I can't. Who got robbed this year?
PK. Dorito. Yeah,
Dorito.
Dorit.
So to share with Danny, someone who doesn't know her audience, she's a wealthy socialite, whatever. She got robbed. Some people say that it was fake. Some people say that it was for television. I would hope that she wouldn't do that. That these people are above faking a home invasion. But they're not so interesting. But I am very much a fan of Garcelle and Sutton. I think that I'm not a fan of Erica.
I can't get with that, how she's been, especially the past few seasons. And Kyle Richards, she reminds me of so many of my girlfriends that I had in high school and college. And she's just she's so much fun at a party, but you want to kill her, like every other time, because she's just so wishy-washy back and forth. She has no spine, and she's very two-faced. I can't deal with that kind of stuff. And she's been really horrible to her sister. Actually, if you want to ask my favorite, it's Kathy Hilton right now, because she'll just walk into a room and I don't know what she's on or what's happening in her life, but she just drops these one-liners. My husband and I just hysterical laughing. But, I hear she's got some controversy going on, so we'll see what happens depending. Yeah. But yeah, Sutton's pretty cool. It's funny.
I think Sutton and Kathy Hilton are both at that point of they're rich and they don't really care anymore because they don't need to care about anything because they're going to be rich for the rest of their life. And, they'll wear whatever they want. They'll say whatever they want. But I think Sutton has more of a heart kind of at the core of her. I think Kathy Hilton has been rich for so long now that maybe she's a little, she's definitely like old money-ish kind of an attitude.
She is. She's so funny, but I love that she like walks around with her box fan when she goes to travel and like her house slippers.
Yeah.
She doesn't care. And I love it.
Yeah.
I love that so much. But yeah, I'm going to miss her if she doesn't come back. There's always drama with her and her sister, Kyle Richards. Those who may not know, Kyle Richards is sisters with Kathy Hilton. So they're always fighting, always holding their kids over each other's heads. Always a wedding that someone needs to attend, so they got to make up real quick. Oh, it's so exhausting.
And if you didn't know this, Danny, Kathy Hilton is Paris Hilton's mother. Kyle Richards is her
Figured
aunt.
as much.
So it's all. I mean, it's funny because this certain tier level of reality stars, Kathy Richards, I forget the Bella Hadid's mom, but she was also in the Real Housewives. They've sort of created this new era of reality stars, supermodels. Bella Hadid, Gigi Hadid, who are like ultra famous now, were kids on the show. And who's the Lisa Rinna's kids are now pretty famous.
She's the worst too. Sorry.
Who's the one that had all the dogs that owns the restaurant in Beverly Hills?
That's
Lisa Vanderpump.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's no longer on the shows, and I want to say that she's probably the most successful and rich of at least the top 5 richest of all the housewives. I think Bethany Frankel might be up there, but Lisa Vanderpump is definitely very, very wealthy and very successful in West Hollywood. She
was a lot of fun to watch too. I miss the old seasons when things were when life was uncomplicated. I feel like it's so dark now with these ladies. So I'm just watching it to see some sort of completion at this point because I'm ready to just like rip my hair out.
You're ready for closure.
Yeah. And Danny might know this, but about this, but Kyle Richards' sister, what's her other sister's name? The blonde, Kim Richards. They were in Escape from Witch Mountain, so they were child actresses.
Okay.
They were the stars of that movie. So they've been acting a long time. And I personally like Kim a lot more than Kyle.
She's the one that had the short hair.
She had blonde hair, but she had a real good drinking problem for a little bit.
A real good one.
But I hope she's doing well now because I really root for her because she has Kyle Richards as a sister, so I feel bad for her already.
Yeah.
She's just always sucking the air out of the room when she walks in, right? So, anywho, enough of that.
So thank you for that. But we'll go ahead and get into the next topic so Danny can participate.
I know Gabe has been holding that back for a while now.
I could just go for hours.
Right.
But anyhow, I apologize for taking a rant on Real Housewives. But
no, I love it. I infrequently am allowed to do that because Danny is not a fan.
Infrequently.
Yeah.
Wait, I've never held you back from talking about a topic.
It's like talking. I mean, I would be talking to myself because you have no idea what I'm talking about.
I would nod and agree.
I want someone to share in the ridiculously of the Housewives.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. But they definitely have crossed into pop culture in ways that I, at one point, never thought was imaginable because who would have thought that reality stars would be like the new everything?
Yeah.
The president,
Kardashians.
Yeah, Kardashians, Trump. I mean, they're literally they're everything that we follow, really, like movies, TV now, books. Every aspect of pop culture is almost dominated by reality stars or influencers. It's crazy.
How many cities now though have a Real Housewives show? Because there's like a lot of them, right?
So many. And that's what got me started on watching it last year was they started one in Salt Lake City here. And I know some of the ladies that are on the show.
And there was a big controversy, right?
They're still, one of them's going to prison, and I may or may not know this person, but she's going away. She's got to be going away for at least 9 to 15 years for fraud, stealing money from senior citizens.
Oh, wow.
And it's just a very small world here in Salt Lake, and everybody knows each other. So it's kind of fun to watch people that you know, or that are mutual friends with the friend, just make a total mess of themselves on TV. Yeah. I mean, it's just whatever. It's entertaining. But yeah, oh gosh, people out here are nuts.
Is it there a high altitude there?
Yes.
On the high altitude?
Yeah, it's pretty. I think right now where I'm at, it's maybe 5,000 to 6,000 feet.
Wow.
And then once you get up in the mountains by Park City and stuff, it's like 9. Or it's hard to breathe, especially in the winter. We get a lot of pollution out here, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
Worse than LA, because we live in the middle of this bowl of mountains all around us. Mm-hmm. And so the smog cannot get up depending on the weather. And so there's days when you just can't leave the house, or they issue warnings on the news. It's like
crazy. I did not know that.
Yeah. So I live out in the suburbs about 45 minutes south towards Las Vegas. And I like it out here because there's no traffic. It's great.
That is good.
Yeah.
So since we've last talked to you, have you been on any paranormal trips or adventures that you could talk about?
Yeah, a ton. I've just been traveling away this year. I think my big one I did was in July. I went to the Conjuring house, the real house from the Conjuring, and I spent the night there.
In the house?
Yes. That was fun. It was creepy. You all have seen the Conjuring movies, I'm sure. So this was a real story. This was a real family that was terrorized in this house. It's in Rhode Island. And I was able to spend the night there and do a little ghost hunt with a small group of strangers who I'd never met. So that was fun. And I'm like, am I going to die by the end of this? Because I am the only brown one here. So I think I'm the first to go, right? Isn't that? And the only gay. So isn't that what happens? So I was just trying not to get possessed by a demon. And but we did like full on seances. It's on my channel. I did a live stream. Oh, wow. And it was pretty spooky. And I did go to Salem the other day to look at the witch trials and the Hocus Pocus filming locations, in honor of the sequel that came out the other day. I love the East Coast. I think it's got so much history, and so many good ghost stories. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So with your video that you put out at the Conjuring house, are there any scary events that happened that you documented, or that our fans can go check out?
Yeah, there's on my video, it's about a half-hour episode. There are some EVPs I caught, which, if people don't know what that is, it's electronic voice phenomenon. And I was getting responses just like someone next to the microphone of the camera. I know I went up into the room, the bedroom where the girls would be kissed at night by a woman who hanged herself in the barn outside. And that's a true story. Well, some of it. And I stayed up there by myself, and I remember I asked, is there anyone here with me? And you can hear a woman's voice just say yes, like right next to me. And I was the only person in there. And then in the basement, we do a thing called the Estes method, where you wear a pair of headphones with white noise radio stations that just cycle. And people say that if there's spirits, you can hear people talk to you through the headphones, and you'll hear words or sentences, which you shouldn't be able to hear because they're cycling, 3 times a second. So you shouldn't be able to hear full sentences, but I was getting full-on conversations coming through my headphones. And then so what you do is you have the headphones, there's people asking questions, and you can't hear anything they're saying. And so you see if you can communicate together. I was answering their questions without being able to hear them. Wow. Based on what was coming through for me. But I'm also kind of a little weird, and people say I'm a psychic or a medium. And I don't know if that's true, but I definitely have a lot more paranormal things happen to me. So things were kind of going crazy that night in the basement.
So does that freak you out? Does that, I mean, how do you leave a place like that and then just go back home?
You know what? It takes me a week sometimes to like get it off. I have to sage my house. I'll cleanse things when I go to places like this, because if it's got such a negative history, I try not to bring it with me. And it just depends on the location. But in Salem, we had a really weird incident after I went to the Witch Museum, and I just felt like a really bad vibe the whole day. And the night before, I had a nightmare about being stuck in an elevator and a fire happening in our hotel. And so I was telling my husband as we're driving home from Salem, I saw a place on the road that I had seen in the dream the night before. And I was like, Barney, this is really tripping me out, because we'd never been there before. And I'm seeing landmarks from this dream. And then we go to our hotel, we get in the elevator, and I'm just like, I don't have a good feeling right now. I'm like, right as I say that, the elevator broke down and got stuck right on the 4th floor. And I'm very claustrophobic. I didn't know I was, but hey, now I do. So I was on the ground. I was praying. It was for almost an hour. We were stuck. Wow. And the thing with the hotel is they were going through a heat wave in Boston, and the air conditioning had broken in all the public areas of the hotel. Wow. So there was no air. It was 100 degrees. I was taking my clothes off. I was sticking my mouth on a vent on the floor, just praying to God, like, someone save us. And the phone wouldn't work. There was no reception. Wow. The emergency button wasn't working.
Wow.
So it was a really scary situation. And then finally we got out. Then we get to the airport the next morning. We take the bus to go to the terminal. The bus breaks down, and it's like speed. We're like shoulder to shoulder on a bus with strangers, and it's 105 degrees. There's no air again, and we're locked inside the bus, and we can't get out. So someone had to like pry open the door and rescue us. We get out of that bus, go on another bus, and guess what happens? It broke down again. Second bus. I'm not even making this up.
Wow.
And I'm like, Barney, something's going on. Like something followed us, or maybe it's because I went to all these creepy places. But then we get on the plane, and I'm like, nothing else could happen, right? And then the pilot comes on, and he's like, like the turbulence was so bad, people were praying like in their seats. Wow. Like we were just like falling. And it turns out the pilot had to take the plane like 300 miles out of the direction he's like, we're in some big storm. And I'm like, we're going to die on this trip, Barney. Like, we're not meant to leave the East Coast. Like, we're just going to die in the field. It was freaky. And so stuff like that, I have to think like, it's a pretty good coincidence.
Right.
But I don't know. And it's just, yeah, sometimes on investigations, things like that will happen. They happen pretty often. Yeah. So that's why I kind of just like, I'm not surprised at this point.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. Yeah.
I don't know if I would have been able to get onto the next, get onto the bus, then get onto the second bus, and then get onto the plane.
Oh man, we missed our flight almost. They were closing the door, and we had gone 3 hours before just because we missed a flight on another trip. That's a story for another day. So we left super early, and we almost didn't make that flight either. It was like the whole trip, something was trying to keep us from leaving is what I was getting. And so I don't know, but we loved Salem so much. I wanted to buy a house. We were looking on Zillow. I'm like, of course.
It does. I've never been. So, and I'm curious, is it been impacted by like the tourism? Is it like cheesy now where it's like everything is witch themed, or has it been able to kind of keep its charm about it?
I hear that when you go at Halloween, it's super ridiculous and cheesy, cheese fest. Yeah. And so when we went in July, it wasn't so bad, but that's definitely, they rely on the witches and the souvenirs and all that stuff. But me, I like to get out and away from the touristy stuff if I can help it. And it's weird, the day that we were there, was actually the 330th day, 2-year anniversary to the day of the hangings of the Salem witch trials.
Oh, wow.
So when I say like the trip was just super weird, like there were so many coincidences, and yeah, I just happened to be in front of a grave of a person who had died that day. Like I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh, that's today. And they're like victim of the Salem witch trials.
Wow.
And then I researched it a little more, and yeah, most of the hangings happened on that exact day that I was there in July. Wow. So it was like, I was like, ooh, are the Sanderson sisters gonna pop out? I just need to find someone to light a candle. But it was really cool. Yeah.
So both of those locations have to be on the top of like most paranormal, people that are interested in that type of stuff. Yeah. Is there a spot that you haven't been to that is on the top of your list of like, I have to see this spot?
Ooh, well, New Orleans has always been on my bucket list because the whole place is haunted. It has to be. I just know it is. I haven't been, but I am going in December, so I'm really excited. I'm going to go for 2 weeks, and I'm going to go stay at the Myrtles Plantation, which I, as a kid, remember watching like Unsolved Mysteries. I loved that show, scared the crap out of me, and seeing stories about this Myrtles Plantation. And so it's going to be really cool to finally go see all this history. And I'm more excited about eating all the food, if I'm being honest. I love Old Bay. It's my favorite seasoning in my cupboard. So I'm sure like New Orleans is going to be delicious.
Yeah.
Right.
My one recommendation that you have to go to is go to Willie Mae's and the Treme for their fried chicken.
That's what I've heard.
Chicken, you have to go there.
It's on my list. Let me just add it again. Yeah. But no, I'm really excited for that. And gosh, as far as like bucket list places, I've been lucky enough to get to go to most of them. Honestly, my favorite spot to this still will be the Queen Mary always in Long Beach. That place is just, it's a special, super haunted place. Yeah. I hope they are opening it up. Do you know anything about that?
I think that they're closing it. I think that it's done.
Wasn't it sinking or something like that?
Yeah, like I think that the cost of the repairs and the cost of maintenance and keeping it there outweighed, the benefits.
Oh, was that like a new thing? Because I know that they had closed it for the past few years, but I heard that they were thinking, trying to get it open by Halloween. So is it a different? Did you hear something new? Or?
That's the last I've heard. I haven't really looked into it recently. I would be really happy because it is such a historical, beloved place for so many people that I would hate to see it leave. So hopefully that is correct, that they are going to be opening it up again.
And like, let's face it, Long Beach needs that landmark. I mean, that's what you think of when you think of Long Beach. Otherwise, if that's gone, then there's other things I think of when I'm in Long Beach, and we don't want that to be on the magnets that they sell at the airport.
Yeah.
But I hope it gets back because it's such a cool. Even if you're not into the ghosts, just for the history of it and just the beauty of the building of the ship. I guess it's a ship. It's just a special place, special little time capsule. So I hope they open it back up.
So I had another question for you, talking about landmarks and ghosts and all of those things. Mm-hmm. The Dahmer special has obviously been a hot topic for many weeks now. Top show on Netflix. A lot of the pushback for that show being that, the real life victims, that it is, kind of terrorizing them again because they keep rehashing the same story. Is it glamorizing Jeffrey Dahmer? The people that are into serial killers, I think, also kind of cross over with people that are into paranormal stuff. Do you find that stuff fascinating as well? Or do you stick to ghost and maybe historical Salem witch trials, things like that, so it's not recent history where like victims are still alive, or people? Do you see a difference between the two?
Well, as far as like the serial killer stuff, I do find it very fascinating. I haven't seen the show on Netflix yet because I have to get in the mood for that kind of stuff. Just as like as someone who's like, I've dealt with some trauma and stuff as a kid, I I don't get into it as much, but when I'm investigating, I do notice that, if you're dealing with victims and there's people still alive, which I have in the past, here in Utah, there's a lot of spots where Ted Bundy would hang out, and he did get some of his victims just next door to one of my apartments.
Oh, wow.
Was where he got one of his last victims, and there's a whole tour you can go on around town, and so I've done things like that with people, but I try and just keep in the back of my mind that there are victims that are still alive. Mm-hmm. And so I tend to go for the stuff that's a little older, where I'm not going to offend someone.
Right.
But it's just, stuff like Domnor, that just, it's super dark for me. And I've seen the crime scene photos, years ago, and I don't know. It's one of those cases that I just kind of freaks me out a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I think that there's like a little bit of like excitement and fun, like thinking about, just a generalized idea of a ghost. Like, it's a ghost. Like, it's not, you don't know who it is. It could be a Confederate soldier. It could be whatever. Mm-hmm. But if I'm like in LA, I'm not necessarily going to go like courting Richard Ramirez ghost. Like, that's just like, to me, would be frightening. But if I don't want to meet like Hero Creek, and I'm like, oh, it's a ghost. It's like a little bit less frightening for me than thinking about a specific person or entity that I know their backstory and know like what they've actually done and committed. Then I'm like, okay, that to me is too terrifying.
Oh, if you're asking if I would go out purposely just to go like conjure up Jeffrey, no, probably not. That doesn't sound fun for me.
Yeah. Not necessarily conjuring, but just like, I guess for me, there's a difference between like just like folklore or like places that have like a spooky vibe, and then like going to like an actual crime scene, and having it's like I don't know, it's just a different type of creepy vibe.
It is, and I think there's something about when it's more recent, it affects you. It affects me a little differently, and it makes it a little too like real for me sometimes. So not that I don't think it's real, because it is, but
how about like the Lizzie Borden house? Would you go to a place like that?
I had tickets to go to that just the other day, and I had too much going on, so I couldn't go. But that I would go there, absolutely. It was, like I said, it was on my list to film. It just didn't happen this time. But that's even that I feel a little weird about. Mm-hmm. I don't ever want to be disrespectful to the spirits, or because when I go to a place, I kind of just treat whoever I'm investigating, if it's like a famous story, just like I'm talking with you guys right now. Like, I wouldn't go in and be like, hey, and start swearing.
Right.
Well, Zach Bagans. But I would definitely check it out, just because the house looks super cute, and I do love some architecture. But it's far enough in the past. I guess it's okay to have the gift shop and the little mini axes and stuff and the bed and breakfast.
Yeah.
Kind of deal. I don't know. We're weird. People are weird, huh?
Yeah.
I don't know. But I'm weird too. So it's kind of just, I just kind of pick and choose for me what I think feels doable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's important. Sorry, I think it's important for people to trust their gut, right? Like, what feels okay and comfortable, and what is like stepping over boundaries that you might be putting yourself in a place that's unsafe, mentally, spiritually, or whatever.
And it's different for everyone. And me, investigating lots of abandoned buildings and things, I'm more scared of like the living people that are crazy, that are going to pop out, like the crazy homeless guy with the knife. That's what I'm more worried about. So but I do like I said, I think I got started in ghost hunting, paranormal investigating because of the buildings. I love architecture. I love an old building, and that's sort of what started it. So I'm there for the story and the history. which is weird because I hated history all throughout school. It was so boring. But when you're doing it, when you're there at the place, like Gettysburg, I didn't pay attention to that in school. But when I was there in the spot where thousands of men died, there's something just very, very different about it. And you get that sense of what happened that you could never get in a class, or a book.
Yeah.
So
would you say you investigate purely ghosts or other paranormal phenomenon, say like vampires or werewolves, stuff like to that degree?
Yeah, I mean, I've done all of it. The cryptozoology stuff, especially here in Utah. We supposedly have a Bigfoot up the canyon here from the house, or Skinwalker Ranch, of course. There's a lot of UFO sightings. I just posted a video a week or so ago. My brother had some crazy stuff show up on his Ring doorbell camera.
Oh, wow.
As far as UFO lights, and he lives way out west by the mountain where there's nothing. I mean, it's where the sun sets every day. It's just up in the sagebrush, and I've seen UFOs out there. And so there's all sorts of weird things that go on out here, and I do enjoy getting into anything. I have friends that I talk to all the time, and they're into the theory of hollow earth and different civilizations living underneath our feet, and systems of tunnels and things. I think that's all very interesting. I'm not saying I believe in all of it, but
you can be fascinated by it.
It's very interesting. Yeah. I love the stories.
Speaking of stories, hearing all your adventures and your investigations, you obviously have your podcast that you document some of that. Have you ever thought about writing a book and including all those stories and adventures into?
I have. I don't even know where to begin. I wouldn't even know what to do.
Just start typing away.
I do love to write. I loved English in school, and I've always said I wanted to write a book. If anything, to just tell the stories of like the elevator I just told you. I've had little things like that happen my entire life. Crazy coincidences and just funny, entertaining little tidbits. I wouldn't even know how to market it or what to call it because it's just so all over the place, but just like me. But I think that's something I would do one day if I could.
Yeah, I think that I think that it would be a great, just hearing your stories, I was like, that sounds like a book.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what people tell me all the time. So I was like, hey, better make some of that money. Honey, I'll do it.
There's a book by Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters, and it's called The Storyteller. And basically he recounts a lot of his adventures through rock and roll. And I can easily see you adapting your stories into a book like that.
Yeah, and I was a singer for years. Traveled, I toured, I sang in China. I have crazy, there's something about musicians and actors that do theater and stuff. We're just a weird kind of different kind of group of people. And so, yeah, there's all kinds of stories to be told.
Excellent. That's something to look forward to then.
Yeah, I'll let you know. You'll get the first copies. How about that?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Pop Cult X exclusive.
That'd be cool.
I want it.
Yeah, we'll have my people call yours.
Yeah.
I don't have.
That is my people.
I'm like, I have a cat right here next to me. It's my people. So that's about it.
Has there been any time during your investigations when you've just been like, I'm scared, I'm done, I can't do this anymore right now?
Yeah, it's only happened like once, and it was Skinwalker Ranch. I don't know if we talked about that last time or not.
I think we might have a little bit.
It was the time we were, and if people don't know what that is, Skinwalker Ranch is in the Uinta Basin here in Utah, and it was once owned by Robert Bigelow, and he's this billionaire who, I guess he's making a space station or something in the sky, and he bought this land because this poor family was being terrorized in the 90s, and it was straight up like poltergeist kind of stuff. The chairs would be stacked, she'd put the groceries away, go to the bathroom, come back out, all the groceries would be back out on the table, and then they would see the little the little creatures running around the house, and just stories from the whole cities and towns around the area of this basin that go back to Native American times of the Skinwalker. And so he bought this and put like bait pens on this land where he'd put cows, like Jurassic Park kind of stuff, just to see if something would eat it. And the cameras would be completely chewed up to pieces and eaten, and they'd be up like, 25 feet up in the air, and they would never know how. And so I went out there many times back in 2007. I think I started going out there, and this was before the TV shows or what anyone knew about it. And the last time I went there was when I saw that creature next to our car, and I thought it was a tree. And then it bent down over and looked at me in the window, and it was what you would consider, like a gray alien, like with the big eyes, the tall, skinny body. And while that's happening, there was orbs of light coming towards the car from the sagebrush, and that whole little scenario there kind of screwed me up for a long time. And who knew? Because I've always believed there's something else, out there, especially with the solar systems and how tiny we are, in the scheme of everything. But to see it with your eyes in the middle of the night, after having nightmares about it, mind you, this is one of those places where I would anytime I'd go out there, I'd have some really vivid nightmares before, kind of like warnings telling me to stay away from places. And I listened to that too. And I knew I shouldn't have gone out that night. And so when that kind of stuff happens, I felt like I wasn't safe. And that was the only time that's ever happened where I felt like I'm in danger.
Wow.
Like, I don't know what's going to happen. But it took me about 8 years to ever go back there again. And I just barely went back for the YouTube channel, because people asked about it enough.
Yeah.
And so I did go back a few times this past year, and that's also on my channel as well. But it's the only place I'd say I've ever felt unsafe.
Wow. As you were talking, I completely forgot that I had an experience with maybe something that could be considered paranormal in New Orleans. We just went for Southern Decadence not that long ago. And I was changing, and Doug saw my back that I had these weird dots in like a perfect like triangle shape, perfectly spaced between each other. Like someone basically drew it, but it looked like an impression mark, like not a pen and it didn't rub off. And it stayed on my body for probably like 4 or 5 days. Well, me being the hypochondriac that I am, of course, I went to like Google to try to see what is this cancer? Like, am I on my way?
Are you dying? Yeah.
Yeah. And so on Reddit, apparently there's this conspiracy theory that this happens when aliens come and either visit you or steal you or whatever. And there's these little symbols that they put on your back. And it went away. And I told my dad, and my dad was like, "Oh, well, do you have any lapse of memory? Do you not remember?" And I was like, "No, like everything was normal." But that was my little brush with maybe an alien, maybe with paranormal. And it just went away.
That's really kind of crazy. Did I tell you the story last time about what happened to me when I went back to Skinwalker Ranch this first time last year?
No.
So the story I just told you, that was the last straw for me. I'd been going out there for about 2 or 3 years, but that visit with the alien bending down at the car, that was when I was like, I'm good. I'm not coming back. So I didn't go back until last January for the first time. And it's all on my channel too. But when we went back there, I went to Skinwalker Ranch. I didn't even get out of the car. But when we came home, I also, while I was driving, I was telling my viewers a story about when I was a kid. I used to go deer hunting all the time in the area where Skinwalker Ranch is, and I didn't even know it was a thing. And I got the scar on my back it looked like a burn mark, and it was a triangle, and it was always here on the back here of me. And it was there for years and years until I was about 21, and then it just disappeared one day. And it looked like it was a burn mark, of a triangle. So I'm telling the story. We're at Skinwalker Ranch. We come home, nothing happened. And I take off my jacket, and there's blood here on the side of me, and 3 dots of blood in a triangle. So there's 3 dots. I pull up my shirt. This is definitely blood, but there's no blood on my body, but there's 3 moles in a triangle shape, and they're still here. I'm not going to show anyone because I'm fat, but they were not there before I went back to Skinwalker Ranch. Wow. And when that happened, when I came home and found the shirt and I showed it, it's all on my channel. You can see this. I started hearing knocking at the front door, and then knocking here on these windows, and it was coming from all around the house. And my friend was with me, so she heard this happening. And then things just started getting crazy around this house for like a week after going back there. And so it's so weird that you say the triangle with the 3 dots, because that's exactly what I have, except it didn't go away. But it was not there before last year. That's so weird.
Yeah, that's
I'm gonna have nightmares.
Yeah, we're like triangle dot sisters now.
I know, that's so funny. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of think
super weird. It went away, like I said, within a few days, and I thought, well, I didn't hit anything, so it's not like I hit something that made an impression. It wasn't a bruise because it was perfectly spaced. It was like something made it. Not just like a scratch or like a whatever. And yeah, it just went away. So I don't know.
That is so interesting. Who knows? Maybe you did get taken away and just didn't know it.
Yeah, no. It was super hot in New Orleans when we went. It was like, right in the middle of their like humid season. And so I was like, I kind of wish they would have taken me somewhere cooler because I was
can you get some air conditioning? That'd be great.
I'm like, is space really cool? I heard that it's really cold. So yes.
I would have very cold in space.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Oh wow, how interesting. That's very cool.
Yeah. So that was my little brush with
you're the first person to ever say anything similar to what I had happen. So that's
I think now that you told that story, I think I remember you telling us last year podcast. I didn't recall that when it happened, but yeah, that's really interesting. Wow,
that is
a coincidence.
Well, now crazy. I'm never going back out there again.
Yeah. Hopefully they would scare me because I am, indigenous, so maybe they would recognize that in me and say, you're if it's a indigenous, Indian thing, or if it's an alien thing,
Why is he laughing? No, I'm actually Gabe, you're right. I think there's something to that because people have asked me too, because I'm native Polynesian, and people that have gone with me out to the ranch have gotten really terrible things that have happened to them where it'll kind of just pass me up. Or when they bring me with them to certain spots, they seem to feel safer, they've said. And it's not like anything I do, but it's, I've always wondered if it has something to do, especially with the locals that are natives too, stuff sort of backs off.
Yeah.
When they're in the area.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was curious about that in New Orleans because you mentioned you're going to go to a plantation, and I thought there's 2 things that could happen if I go to a historically haunted place and it's, former slave owners, former, white ghosts. Either they're going to be horrified that a brown person is in their house, which I would take pleasure in, or they're going to get extra ornery because there's a brown person in their house and, get extra haunted. But
that's true.
It would be kind of cool if I knew that there was a ghost of some plantation owner that owned slaves and just kind of put my shoes up on whatever I want, walk around the house like I own the joint and be like, shit about it.
Just make them roll in their grave. I think that's great. I was having mixed thoughts about even going because I do feel I'm very against those sort of things that, the stuff that happened. But at the same time, I do love to see history with my eyes, and so I have mixed feelings about spending the night. And I think we're staying in the actual the head caretaker of the slaves' cabin. So I'm not staying in the mansion. I'm staying out in the little cabins where the workers were.
Yeah.
And so I kind of told my husband, I'm like, you're probably going to die in your sleep because you're white and they don't like you. So we'll see what happens to you, sir. But yeah, I don't know what'll happen. But I have noticed here in Utah, investigating a lot of places being, I don't know if it's because I'm gay or because I'm a minority. I've gone to these polygamist house and activity will just explode around me, like negative stuff, things being thrown. And I think they just don't like the brown people sometimes. I think the way you are in life, you act after, depending on this, what's going on. And so I have noticed a difference in how I'm like received when I go to buildings and places versus my Caucasian investigator friends.
Right.
Who knew that racism it gets even in the afterlife. It just keeps going.
Yeah. So if Kanye West ever becomes a ghost, Danny won't be investigating because Kanye will go DEFCON 3 on him.
Oh no.
Yes.
That is Jewish. So that's my
Kanye West is wow. He's his own special place. I don't know. I think he gets his own heaven, right? Or is that how it works?
I don't know what's going on with him. I mean, mental health, there's a mental health crisis in the United States, the world, really. And I don't excuse any behavior that is, this is because he's having a mental health crisis, because there are plenty of people that have mental health issues that are not anti-Semitic and don't go after groups of people that are minorities or disenfranchised. I forgot who it was today. I was reading something that he went after someone else, and I was just like, at this point, I'm just gonna like zone out. I'm not even gonna listen to it because it's almost like a cry for help, but like none of his people in his circle are listening, which is really sad.
The sad thing when you're a celebrity at that level, you're just surrounded by yes people. That's all you ever have, and you're never, they're not going to tell him the truth. They want to keep their job or they want to, be around him. But I could never. I couldn't deal with him. He's too much for me. But it's like, yeah, you can always get help. He doesn't want the help, or he would get it. He has more resources than anyone else. And I don't know if he is getting help. He might be. I hope he is. But I just don't even. I just don't even pay attention to what he does anymore, honestly, because it's just every day something comes out of his mouth. I'm just like, wow, all righty, sir. Get it together.
Very true.
Yeah.
Well,
we're coming to the hour mark. Did you have any closing questions, Danny?
No, I got my questions answered. So thank you for that, Adam. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Yeah. This went by really quick.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to talk to you and
thank you
hear about your adventures. I definitely, hopefully, some great stuff happens in New Orleans for you that you can document on your channel. Once again, if you could remind our listeners and our people who are watching, what is your YouTube channel? Where can they watch some of your adventures?
The channel's called The Paranormal Polynesian Travel. There's a little confusion with my channel. It's a travel channel before anything. So it's me going all over the world, staying at the hotels, eating the food. So delicious. I love food. So it's just like taking you around the town, but it's all got a paranormal kind of twist. So we'll always go to like a weird little place or go to a haunted hotel, do an investigation, but it's The Paranormal Polynesian Travel, and it's on YouTube. You can find me Instagram, Facebook. I hear that I have a Twitter. I've never used it, but someone else does.
You do have a Twitter, and I linked you there. Yeah.
Oh wow! Never been on it. Don't know my login. I had a friend that was helping me do marketing back when I first started the channel, so I have no idea. If you find me on Twitter, I'm so sorry. I'll figure it out one day. But
I'll be sure to link all your social media, maybe Twitter, in the description box. Just
Yeah, well, I'll give you my address if y'all want to come by and see my Halloween display outside. I made a mistake the other day of inviting my entire Facebook friends list to my birthday party this weekend. So I've already had people driving by my house that I don't even really know. Oh, wow. And I'm like, cool, this will be a fun weekend.
So for Halloween, are you dressing up?
Well, we're having an 80s party, so actually I'm just gonna wear this jacket. I've got hair extensions coming in on Friday, and I'm gonna go for like this punk, this glam 80s hairband kind of look.
Nice.
Right, eyeliner and it's gonna be fun.
Are you going to be singing any hair metal ballads for?
Probably, yeah. Back here on can you see behind me? There's a stage we're working on building for the karaoke lounge. So I hired a few DJs in different areas. So we're gonna do a live stream on my channel this Saturday of the party. So anyone who wants to join me there, I'm sure we'll sing a song or two. I do love
to be checking it out for sure.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, thank you again, Adam, for taking some time to come chat with us. We really appreciate it here at Pop Cult X, and everyone out there, if you're watching this later on after our live stream, thanks for tuning in for our unedited, unfiltered, and unbothered approach to live stream. So thanks again, everyone, for tuning in, and we will see you all next time.
Thank you.